Have you ever felt that because you think too much, you never get anywhere? The Pink Panther, too. She just wanted to climb. But each step came with a new question. And the more she thought, the more the staircase seemed to grow endlessly, until she discovered that the real weight wasn't on the steps, but on her head. The scene begins with the Pink Panther walking alone through an open field. The horizon is calm, the wind is gentle, but something in her gaze betrays unease. In the distance, a huge staircase appears, seemingly touching the sky. It's simple, made of light wood, but its height seems endless. The panther pauses before the first step, and for a moment takes a deep breath, as if about to begin a great adventure. She places one foot on the step, but before continuing, she looks up and wonders if she's prepared for what's to come. This is where the silent conflict that dominates the entire scene begins. She's overthinking. She climbs the second step and begins to imagine, what could go wrong? What if the top leads nowhere? What if she slips? What if everyone is laughing at her for trying? Every negative thought seems to weigh on her shoulders, slowing the climb. In a subtle touch of humor, the panther pulls a notebook from her mental bag and begins jotting down risks and impossible calculations, as if she could foresee everything before taking the next step. The audience silently notices the exaggeration and smiles. With each step, the ladder seems to stretch. Further, what at first seemed like a feasible challenge now becomes endless. She stops, sits on the step, and looks back. The ground is as far away as the top, and this leaves her even more confused. The fear of failure and the desire to succeed intertwine, paralyzing her. It's the perfect portrayal of what it means to overthink, to be trapped between the fear of going up and the fear of going down, unable to move. Deep down, the audience empathizes because they recognize that internal conflict. And even without saying a word, Panther sends a powerful message. Sometimes what most prevents us from moving forward is not the size of the challenge, but the questions we invent along the way. The panther continues climbing the ladder, but with each new step, something strange begins to happen. Shiny leaves float through the air, clinging to her arms and legs. Each leaf has a phrase written on it. What if you fall? No one will support you, and if it's not worth it, everyone will laugh at you. At first she tries to ignore it, but the higher she climbs, the more leaves appear, clinging like weights. Her movements slow, and the ladder, which already seemed endless, now seems impossible. In a touch of quiet humor, the panther tries to shake off the leaves with exaggerated movements, waving her arms and even trying to blow them away. But they bounce back and stick even tighter. In desperation, she grabs a twig and begins using it as a sword, fighting against the falling words, transforming a heavy moment into something unexpectedly funny. The scene is comical, but carries an emotional truth. The more she fights her thoughts, the more they multiply. Wearily, the panther stops halfway up the stairs and looks down. The ground is too far away to turn back. She looks up. The top is invisible. That's when the anguish hits, and the audience feels it. Who hasn't felt this way? Stuck halfway, carrying fears no one else can see. But in the panther's gaze, something changes. A spark of quiet stubbornness appears. She understands that to move forward, she doesn't need to fight every thought, but rather learn to rise above them. If you've ever carried invisible fears that felt twice as heavy as they actually were, write in the comments. I've already climbed that ladder. Share this story with someone who needs to hear that it's possible to keep going, even when weighed down by thoughts. And if you want to see how the Pink Panther transforms this journey into something unexpectedly light, subscribe now and stay tuned for the next chapters. Determined to escape the feeling of being trapped on the endless staircase, the Pink Panther begins to look around for a creative solution. If overthinking has made her stop, perhaps finding a quicker way is the way. She observes the endless steps and, with an exaggerated gesture, decides to jump 2 at a time. The plan seems brilliant for half a second, until she stumbles, loses her balance, and finds herself hanging by. Her tail dangling in the air with an expression of pure, silent panic. The scene, at once tense and comical, blends the fear of falling with the panther's characteristic humor. Not satisfied, she tries another strategy. She ties imaginary vines and swings like a pendulum, trying to cut her way along the side of the stairs. The result is even worse. Instead of climbing, she ends up spinning in circles, bumping into her own steps and becoming completely dizzy. Eyes spinning, she gives up and collapses onto the steps, exhausted. At this point, leaves bearing self-doubt begin to fall again, but now they seem to mock her. Why didn't you do it right? Wouldn't it have been better to stay where you were? You'll never get there. Humor and self-criticism intertwine, demonstrating the endless cycle of overthinking. Each attempt to speed up the process only leads to more confusion. At the end, the panther slowly stands up, looks up, and sighs. The audience sees a new determination in her eyes. There are no shortcuts when the battle is internal. If she wants to win, she'll have to continue one step at a time, even if it seems endless. The Pink Panther stands still on a step in the middle of nowhere. The wind that once seemed to push her forward now blows softer, bringing an unexpected silence. For the first time, she stops moving. Her gaze, previously restless and exaggerated, becomes serene. She notices that the ladder has never changed in size. What has changed is the feeling of heaviness caused by the thoughts surrounding her. The phrases that once seemed like shouts are now mere whispers in the distance. She releases the leaves she was holding, which fall slowly, as if losing strength as soon as she stops believing in them. It is at this moment that something curious happens. The steps ahead seem to rearrange themselves, becoming shorter and closer together. The ladder, which once seemed infinite, now seems possible. The audience realizes, without a single word spoken, that the panther's liberation depends not on the ladder, but on how she chooses to see it. In a subtle touch of humor, the panther picks up one of the remaining leaves, rolls it up, and uses it as a fan to cool himself, as if telling himself that the problem has never been so big. His expression changes, no longer one of fear or haste, but of curiosity and light-heartedness. With a firm step, she continues climbing, but now without looking at the top, without calculating her next move. She simply climbs. Each step becomes easier, because she has stopped thinking about them all at once. This is the moment when the metaphor fully reveals itself. Peace came not from controlling the ladder, but from ceasing to fight what existed only within her. After so many stumbles, falls, and paralyzing thoughts, the Pink Panther finally reaches the last step. But instead of a castle in the sky or a grand reward, she finds something surprising. The top of the ladder leads to the exact same field where she started. There was no finish line, never was. The silence of the scene is profound but not heavy. The panther looks around and smiles, not in frustration, but in understanding. She realizes she spent so much time thinking about the destination that she's forgotten to experience the journey. Each step that seemed like an enemy now becomes part of who she's become as she climbs. In a typically humorous gesture, she turns around and walks backward down the stairs, as if mocking the anxiety she felt earlier. When she reaches the ground, she simply lies down on the grass, looks up at the sky, and sighs with relief. The surrounding forest seems more alive, more beautiful, as if she's seeing everything for the first time. The audience understands the metaphor. We often think too much about where we want to go and forget to appreciate what we're experiencing. The ladder was never the problem. The problem was the way she viewed it. If you've ever felt stuck on a seemingly endless staircase, thinking about every possible mistake before even taking the next step, this story is for you. Leave a comment. I climbed my ladder, and share how you overcame your own thoughts. And if you want to continue following quiet stories that blend humor and profound life lessons, subscribe now. With each episode, Panther can remind you of something simple yet transformative. Life becomes easier when we stop fighting the steps and start walking them.